have to be careful that this doesn't all knot it up as we feed it through.
Okay. What do we have going on here today?
We're going to try and change the fuel line, the return line first. You can see where it's leaking. It's running out of the end down here where the tunnel goes through. So it has to be done. I just got to locate the fuel line. It's in this bundle. And I think this is right here. Let me make sure. See, it goes up to the front of the fuel pump up there.
This is just one of the lines that we're replacing. This is the return line. It's a smaller hose. And we're going to use almost every bit of it that you see here. So that's how much line you're talking about replacing. Okay, so what you're going to do is go underneath.
I'm going to go underneath. I'm going to cut the fuel line where it's easily accessible before it goes through the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to attach the new fuel line to it.
And
then try and pull it through from the front.
Okay, and you attach to this bolt or this threaded piece of threaded rod.
Something that hopefully that won't come apart. I'll put the other end on here. I'll put a hose clamp on it. I'm going to wrap it with tape so we don't get any square edges, hopefully, to get caught on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to pull it through, and then once I get it through that way, then I'll be able to feed it back through the rest of the way here to the front of the motor. The back of the motor, actually. You know, I'm kind of going to start in the middle and go one way and then go back the other way.
Okay.
And then after we replace that line, that's the return line, then we got to replace the main fuel line. I think it's the main fuel line that's leaking in the tunnel, but I'm not sure. We'll see once we get it out how chafed it is.
And you're basically going to use the old lines to explain to everybody to feed this one through, the new ones. You're going to drag it through.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Okay, well, wish us luck. Dave is upside down. I got the camera upside down. And I don't even know if you're being filmed, but there's Dave down there. I'm up here in the motorhome, the bedroom. Hope that you never have to replace the fuel lines in your RV if you have a Class A and it's set up like ours where it's like 30 feet of fuel line that runs underneath in a very inaccessible place to the fuel tank, which is located at the front. Dave, he's looking in there now. So the fuel lines that we're having to replace, they run from where he's at, there behind the front wheel, behind the driver's area, all the way back to the back where the engine is. Here, Dave's real happy about this. Look at his head. He already hit his head crawling around underneath the RV, and he knocked his head on something down there. We knew
the zip ties are all too tight on the cluster of hoses and stuff that goes through there. I'm not going to be able to pull it through, and I don't think I'm going to be able to cut all the zip ties without taking the whole bottom half of the RV off. So I'm going to go to plan B, see if I can run a hose next to the bundle. We'll see.
So all of our planning, we thought we were going to do it one way. Now it looks like it's not going to happen that way. That's how so many things in life go, isn't it? Okay, so now Dave's going to go underneath.
Yeah.
You're going to go underneath
And try and stick this through to here. Here's the bundle of wires, or the bundle of hoses and stuff right here. You see it's all dripping with diesel fuel and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's zip ties like this all the way down, and to cut them all and try and get it. So I'm going to try and go alongside of this bundle, and then we'll just zip tie it where we can alongside, and then we can maybe take the old line out in pieces or something. But we're not going to be able to just pull it through like I thought.
So you can all see here what we're talking about, how difficult this is. That's the bundle of hoses that we got to try to replace, and they run underneath. We took this panel apart here in the storage compartment. Okay, Dave's crawling underneath, wiggling the best he can underneath there. Remember that we have this motorhome on blocks throughout the bottom of it for this reason, so that hopefully that adds a layer of safety. And I am going to wait here and try to get this stick, this dowel that he's going to try to stick through. I can see it. Dave was able to feed the end of the hose to me through this. I don't even know if you can see this, and my flashlight's not working, but there's like a hole that's been cut through the metal panel that these hoses and stuff run through, and he was able to feed it through to me. He was underneath, and he fed it through here, which you can't access. There's the beam of the motorhome there. And I stuck my fingers in this hole, and when I felt it, I had to kind of like work it through. It was not fun. Anyway, but we got it, so at least we got it this far. So much further to go, all the way back to there.
Okay, see if you can stick it. You can see my hand?
Yeah, I can. Okay, so Dave went into the compartment, storage compartment on the other side. You see it? And I'm feeding it to him.
Bring the light over here. That's enough.
Okay, so now I am going to crawl in here, and you can see the end of the hose, or maybe you can. The hose is in there. We've gotten it this far, which isn't very far.
It's over halfway.
Halfway, you think so?
It's over halfway.
Oh, good. And then Dave's got his stick, and you're gonna
I'm
go.
gonna go in the back and try and stick this stick through now, and then we'll somehow try and fish the hose the rest of the way through the frame rails.
Okay.
And then if we get it through, we know how to do the next one.
Yeah. It's what do you have to say about this project for anyone else who may have to do this?
It's not going
Sorry.
too bad. No. If I ever have to do it again, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know, it's just trying to figure out how to do it the first time is the hardest time. But you just got to keep improvising.
So here I go. I'm crawling in here.
You can slide that thing in. I'd lay on my back.
Okay. I probably don't need the flashlight. You want to slide me in, honey? Here I go. Oh. Okay, here I am. I have no idea how much of this is going to actually be able to be seen on the video. Here's the end of the hose, and here I am in here, and it's so dark in here. There's a flashlight. In there's where the hoses run. That's where we're gonna try to feed this hose through to Dave once he gets into position. It's a good thing I'm not like really freaked out by small confined spaces, but it's not like there's the opening, so it's not like I'm in here too far. But we finally got we fed something through this hole. So that now it's like a plumbing rotor thing that we have.
Okay, we got it all the way through. Now to make the next line easier, I'm going to pull the hose back a little ways. I'm going to attach a string to the side of it, so when we pull it through, we'll be able to pull a string through. We'll be able to use that string to guide the next fuel line through. And it should be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I got to go back underneath the front end, pull the hose back a little. You just make sure I don't pull it too far. And then I'll tape the string on it, and then we'll pull it the rest of the way.
Okay. I have to crawl back in there. Dave's now, I've traded places with him. He's in there attaching everything. We're going to pull through the hose and the line that we fed through from the other side, and we put a string through there so that the next hose, because we have another one that we have to pull through, the main line, the next one should be a lot easier for us to do. Okay, well here's the end, and Dave pulled most of it through. He's underneath there. So we have successfully run the return line hose through from the front all the way to the back. And we're probably going to stop for today because that is all the bending over and crawling around that Dave can take. What do you think, Tough? Come here, I'll pet you. I'm petting you.
I'd like to get this disconnected.
Yes, you're a good dog. What's that? The old one?
No, the rollover thing they use.
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow, it should be a lot easier job to run the second hose through, and we will have a good start on this project of replacing these hoses.
With a crowbar?
Yeah. So we're part 2 of the fuel line. This is another day. What are you trying to grab something with
I'm
that?
just trying to get the fuel line around. It's on the wrong side of this frame member, and I don't want to crawl all the way underneath there just to. The old line is hanging on, and I'm going to try pulling it out of there.
Here's the old line. It's just hanging there, and we are going to try to get it out of there. We're going to have to cut it in places everywhere that we can because it's tied tightly in a bundle with zip ties, and there are places where the bundle goes and it's zip tied there that we can't reach. So we're going to have to try cutting it where we can reach and pulling it out in sections. And the new fuel return line is hooked up to the fuel pump. After we get done with this, it's moving on to the main primary fuel line. Dave is now removing the return fuel line attachment at the tank, and he's going to attach the new hose.
There you go.
This is the fuel tank where the diesel is stored, and look how filthy it is. It's really got some serious grime buildup. One of the things that we will do eventually is thoroughly clean everything. We've already cleaned on the engine area some, and we've got a lot of other things to clean as well. There's Dave underneath there, and he is pulling out the old fuel return line, and you can see this is it's just a wonderful location to work. I don't know why anyone would think that this was not great.
Take this out of here.
All right, yucky, greasy return fuel line. A section of it. That's as far as he was able to pull it out. And then he had to cut it. So that's piece number 1. And just looking at it, it's... Ooh, look there. No wonder it was leaking. Look at that. So yeah, this had to be done. This was an absolute must. You can see where they had the zip ties, where they zip tied this together in the bundle. That's really where a lot of the chafing was. But you have to remember that this hose has been down there and probably 20 years since the motorhome was new. It doesn't look as though it's been replaced. Break time for Dave. He's got to take a little breather. This is part of how we work, because Davey's got to take breaks due to the suit's condition that his back is in. And you're getting really grimy. I think I'm gonna have to. Those coveralls are going to be due for degreasing after going better than you thought?
That was the easy part. Getting it through the frame rails underneath the cabin was the hard part. Now we gotta try and get the other one through. I don't want to pull that other hose out until we get this through, just in case. We need to use the old hose to pull the new hose, like if the string's not strong enough or something.
Right.
So I'm gonna go underneath the front with the new hose and tie it together somehow to the string. And we're gonna pull the hose through with a string, so we have a string through for future. We'll do it the same way we did. We'll just go from compartment to compartment, and pull it by hand the most we can. Not use the string.
Okay, it's going to be the same sort of thing as before. I'll show you where I'm at. There's the driver's side of the RV, the front. Here is the storage compartment that is one down from the fuel tank. There's the fuel tank. Dave's going to be underneath the motorhome, somewhere in there, kind of in front of where the fuel tank is. He's going to tie the main line, the new one that we're replacing the old one with, to the string that we ran through and secure it really well. Then he's going to kind of push it in through, and I'm going to pull the string and help to guide it, and we're going to be bringing it in through here. Dave is in here, and let me see there's his tape job.
String on there.
The string is attached. He's got it on there, tied a couple of places, right? And then also duct tape.
Over.
So we're going to pull it really gently, kind of feed it through. Hopefully everything goes good. Here's the end of the hose. We successfully were able to feed it through this hole back here. It's pretty dark. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but they have a hole, a circular hole cut through the side of this compartment, and that's where that bundle of everything goes. It's kind of a tight fit. They didn't leave much room aside from just fitting that bundle through. So I had to carefully work it through. We don't want to chafe this thing up too bad while we're putting it in.
Now I have to go back underneath the back, and I'll pull the string again until it gets tight, and then you feed the hose to me. The same way you did last time. You might need a flashlight, remember?
I don't think I didn't really use the flashlight while I was doing that. I was just...
Alright, well, whatever. If you need it, you can go get it. It ain't like once I'm underneath there, I'm going to come back out till we get the hose through.
Okay, so there's the end of the hose in there. This, just show you where we're at, this is the storage compartment on the passenger side. There's the front.
We're going over the water tanks now.
Yeah, the tanks. So I was in there yesterday. I'm going to be going in there again. Okay, hi everybody. So here's the hose, the end, and I'm going to have to turn the camera off so that I can work with both hands here.
Yeah.
Here's the end of the new fuel line, and we made it through. So I guess the hardest part is over. This reminds me of the Wizard of Oz, whenever Dorothy found the Wicked Witch's leg sticking out. Well, that's fun, huh? Look how greasy Dave is.
We gotta go back underneath the front. We'll hook it up in the front and be done underneath the front. I don't think there's one of the fancy fittings on the front. I'm gonna need a flashlight. What's in between there? 3/4.
Here's the old hose. There's the new hose, so that we can attach it, and then it will all be, all the hoses, the fuel line hoses will all be reconnected. Then it'll be a little bit before we actually start to prime the lines and fill it all back up with diesel, because we've got a few more hoses to replace, and then we're going to put the turbo in there and the exhaust manifold back together.
I gotta make sure this other fitting ain't a check valve. If it is, we gotta reinstall it. My table's not strong enough.
That table is.
I'll have to use the big vise.
Grief.
It's really tight. One side at least. It is a check valve. Yeah, see, check valve.
Yep.
Goes in there.
So all the new fuel lines, where there were two of them, the return line and the main line, are now hooked up, installed, and Dave is in the process right now. He's underneath again. Dave, you just love being underneath the motorhome, don't you?
This is great. This is where I belong.
I know. We should make a little thing down here, like a little bed that you could travel. I could drive the motorhome and you could ride underneath here. He's underneath here putting zip ties on the lines in different places so that it keeps it from bouncing around, because that would cause chafing and stuff that we don't want to happen. So he's just wrapping that up, and the next thing that we're going to be doing is installing a new hose on the coolant line. We have the hose already, and that shouldn't take very long at all. Like probably, what do you think, Dave? 10 minutes? 10 minutes or less to hook that up. Then the next thing will be to start putting the exhaust manifold and the rebuilt turbo back onto the engine.